Welcome back. Last diving competition of this Universiade is the women's 10-meter platform synchro competition. Mexico and China expected to fight it out for that gold medal. We do have Koltanova in the lineup. That is down on the start list, which is not on our original start list. So a late change may have been made. And if it has, Chris Snowd alongside me, that is dramatic stuff, because we were told Koltanova, injured tricep, wasn't going to dive. We will see.
She hurt her right tricep in the individual competition that she won. Even though she'd won it and she was very pleased, she was almost crying with pain, and at that point we thought she had withdrawn, and it would be sensible to withdraw because she's got the World Championships.
Well, there we go. Confirmation that Russia are getting warm. Whether Koltanova can make it through this competition, we will see, but that is a fascinating development and certainly very, very late in the day. And that means that the battle between Mexico and China for the gold has just been opened up, because Koltanova is the individual 10-meter champion. So maybe she can bring that quality to this competition, and it could be a three-way shootout for those medals. Espinosa then furthest away from the camera, the queen of Mexican diving, former world champion, Olympic silver medalist in this discipline, and diving with a new partner, Diaz Prieto. She's had a few synchro partners over time. No one she's really clicked with, Chris, so she would love someone in this, what she says is her final Olympic cycle. She would love someone to emerge from the pack to be able to take her through to Rio.
Yes, and we have 3 years for her to do that, and she'll definitely be up there strong. Chinese coaches looking after the Mexican team.
So Mexico about ready to get things underway. It was going to be 5 pairs. We think it's now 6 pairs across 5 rounds, with Russia coming in late in the day. The women's 10-meter synchro platform final, the last diving competition of what has been a fabulous week of diving at this Universiade in Kazan. 2 rounds of easy dives. And a nice start from Mexico, looking for some of those classic entries, but they've also gone with a higher degree of difficulty across those 5 rounds. And Chris, it could come down to those tariffs once again.
Yes, the Mexicans have a 0.1 advantage over the Chinese divers. They're using both inward 3.5s and back 3.5s, and it has made a difference in the men's springboard synchro events, where the Russians took gold.
50 is the score that you need to be aiming for, so close enough for Mexico. But other teams in this competition capable of moving themselves into the 50s and mid-50s. And this is one of them. Chen Ni, Jia Yu Hua. Back dive for them for their opening round. 2.0 maximum tariff that you can get across these first 2 rounds. There's the entries that we're looking for from China.
Yeah, Chen just diving slightly further away from us. Great back dive pikes to start. Strong jump, touching, then the hands against the legs before reaching around the side, grabbing, locking out, and stretching like dear life to get hardly any splash. Such a confident jump off the top of the platform. Very pretty through the air, and always in control. Should go over 50 points.
For those of you that haven't seen much synchronized diving, 2 individual execution scores, 1 for each diver, and then an overall synchronization score. The synchronization score is the important factor here. And into the 50s, good start for China. And the flag's waving, the crowd engaged. That can only mean one thing, that the Russian heroine of these championships, Yulia Koltanova, is going to dive alongside her partner, Natalia Goncharova. And I tell you what, if they get it right, they are in with a shout at gold. Good start, Koltanova. Well, if you've got a sore tricep, you're going to want as little resistance going through the water as possible, and she has nailed that.
Yeah, now that she's decided to dive, the best thing is to attack the water. Punch for it very hard, so you feel like you're hitting the water and that's not hitting you, and the water feels very soft that way. I have to say that I like that as much as the Chinese. Good style, very strong entry.
Yes, 51 marks, beautiful start from Koltanova and Goncharova. And I guess diving without any real pressure, because as of, well, half an hour before this competition, no mention that the Russian pair were going to be able to dive because of Koltanova's injury. Jasmine and Cam of Malaysia next up. Forward dive for this Malaysian pair. Very talented, go to the same high school, which allows them to practice together.
Yeah, Cam, the tallest, is closest to us. Good strong jump, locking out. Just a small splash being thrown up. In the pike position, you can do the dive open arm position or touch your toes.
48 is a good start. Again, keep an eye on execution to the left-hand side of the score graphic. That'll tell you how well the judges think each diver performed the dive individually. And those synchronization scores on the right-hand side tell you what they thought of the synchronization itself. Mackenzie Tweedy then and Sarah McCready of the USA. New pair for us here on Eurosport. McCready to the right-hand side of that picture, should be furthest away from the side on camera.
Oh, a different style, slightly out of sync. So not practicing together, different universities. Well, you can see arms moving around. Well, Sarah must have felt fast in the rotation. That's why she bent her arm there on the left-hand side. Slightly better dive from Mackenzie.
I didn't know where she was.
48.60, just seemed to get a little stuck in that dive, McCready. And that explains it, didn't know where she was. But solid enough. And then to finish off each of our rounds, each of these 5 rounds in this final, it'll be the Cruz twins, Natalie and Nicoli. And a little bit splashy from the Brazilian pair, for that nice bit of originality with the tuck at the start of the dive.
I have to tell you, it's very hard to control a back dive tuck off the platform. Most divers do it in the pike position. Good kick out, but a poor line up. Arms in front of the face, water caught on the shoulders. Interesting though to see a different dive.
Round 1 complete, 43 marks for Brazil, and drama already with Russia in the mix. Welcome back to Kazan. Just back in time to see the bubbles from the Mexican dive, but that would suggest that the last part of the dive went well, and the first part, I can tell you, was also pretty handy. Espinosa and Diaz Prieto would have come into this feeling that it was a direct battle between them and China for gold, but now with Koltanova and Goncharova of Russia declaring themselves fit to dive at the last minute, and it really was the last minute, Mexico now are going to be in a scrap for the podium. So 48 marks for them, just below the 50 in the first round, so solid scoring across the board from Mexico. Chen and Jia. China just looks so sensational on these easy dives, as we call them, in the first 2 rounds. I mean, you would expect to see rip entries just about every time.
It's not just that, their form is perfect. The timing is good, but everything they do is exactly the same. They're mirroring each of their moves, and there's no swing. They're not picking up too much somersault or too much movement at the start. Good reverse dives. And if you're sitting side on like a judge, you will see that it's almost perfect with synchronization.
And the judges agree, 8.5s, 9s, 52.80. That's a really good score over the first 2 rounds of dives. China will be happy with that. So optionals to come for them. That's when we get into the high degree of difficulty, spinning and twisting. Russia fitting in this 3rd position. So medals, Mexico, China, Russia could be decided between the 3 pairs diving in sequence. And very aggressive from Goncharova. So she just overcooked it a touch, but Koltanova again disappears.
Yeah, Koltanova, I really like her entries. She's sharp, even though she's got that injury. A little bit of the tape is flapping around as well. Just a small bit of splash being thrown up by Goncharova. So the Russians will still score quite high. As long as they're around the 50 points, they'll be close to the Chinese, and also the Mexicans going into the very difficult dives, which is the next round coming up.
Just 2 points down there, courtesy of the execution of Goncharova not quite being on. afford to give anything to the Chinese and Mexican divers. The crowd here in the Aquatic Palace will be desperate to see another gold. They thought Zakharov and Kuznetsov's was the last. Jasmine and Cam then from Malaysia. Oh, what a shame. Well, completely out of sync as they left the platform, and then 2 poor entries as well.
Yeah, Cam, closest to her, swings her arms far too fast back. She can't hold the entry. Too much rotation there. Need to jump steeper on the dive to keep the feet from flying over. That didn't happen. That's a miss for them.
It's down at 42, and that's already quite difficult to recover from. That means already 10, 12 marks lost in the first 2 rounds on the rest of the field. Mackenzie Twitty and Sarah McCready next up for the USA. McCready with the blonde hair furthest away from the camera, just off the podium after that first round dive. Oh dear, well, a long way from the platform. That caused a few problems, but other technical difficulties as well with that dive.
Yeah, it was Twitty who jumped too far away. I was seeing the hips going forwards, moving away, touching at the different times, reaching back slightly out of sync there, and a loose back. It was a shame because of the takeoff. If you're moving away from the board like that, and look how far away they are from the end of the board, both of them, it's very hard to get that tight entry.
That spoiled a good start. 41.90 leaves them on 90 points. And remember that Mexico and Russia, China all up towards the 100 and past. Cruz and Cruz to finish. Nicola and Natalie saw them in the synchro competition in the 3 metre. Had a relatively low tariff dive sheet, but they did it well. Again, going for that tuck option, Chris.
Yes, I think they've decided to give a different sort of performance, which can work because it is so different looking than the pike dive. They're in control, tucking at the same time, out, holding, reaching back. It's very good technique-wise. Just need a little bit more tension on the reach back, a little bit more tension, especially through the back, just to hold your entry and get rid of the splash.
44.40. So sub 90 for Brazil, but they will have their own goals in this final and a chance to dive against some real superstars of world diving at the moment. China then over the 100 mark. They lead ahead of Koltanova and Goncharova, Espinosa and Diaz Prieto in 3rd. Well, this competition could get very interesting indeed as the rounds move on. We're into the optional dives now. So 3 rounds of higher tariff diving. Espinosa and Diaz Prieto start with this inward 3.5 somersaults in the tuck position. They have a good degree of difficulty in their whole program. Can they make it count? Oh, unlucky. Diaz Prieto washing right over.
Didn't see the entry at all, completely rolled on the entry. And that's a poor miss. Even with a greater degree of difficulty, you can't miss a dive like this. Synchronization is not too bad at the first part, but then as Espinosa pulls in, she increases her rotation, and she gets to the triple ahead of Diaz Prieto, and Prieto just misses it completely on the end.
67.20, that DD will keep the score slightly elevated. That'll give them some protection. But it's not the scoring that they need if they're going to really attack that gold medal spot, and they know it. So Chen and Jia will be aware in the back of their minds what has just happened. They know there's a chance to open up a bigger gap. Forward 3.5. Yeah, that's absolutely fine from China.
There's a couple of things going on with the synchro dive. One is the distance, and Chen was just a little further out than Jia. But look at the spin, they're around at the same time. If you watch the peak of each somersault, the feet are coming around each at the same time there, so the timing on the spin synchronization was very good. She has to scoop her entry because she's just a little bit short of vertical.
70.20, that's solid. taking them to 174.60 after 3 rounds. Already laying down a marker for the rest of the field. Once again, the crowd will attempt to help Koltanova and Goncharova as much as they can. Oh, that's nice on the entries. Just a little bit ragged on synchronization, but it's a good dive overall.
Yeah, just 5 points behind. As long as they hold steady before getting into their high degree of difficulty, then they'll be in for a chance of that gold medal. Koltanova with just a slightly tighter entry, but going out further than the teammate.
67.50 keeps them on track. Koltanova, remember, finished the competition the other day. Took gold, but in floods of tears, and it was tears of pain, not joy. That arm heavily strapped today, really giving her pain then. Let's hope that recovers and is fine for the World Championships. Jasmine and Cam then, with their 3rd round dive. Very low tariff for this one, just a straightforward reverse dive. So gradually building to something else. But important, Chris, you don't rush divers too quickly to dives they can't do.
No, it's better to perform the easy dives well and only move on to those difficult dives when you've mastered them. Well, this is a miss. Timing out. If we're looking side on, then Can had the best distance. She was pretty much the right distance, but Jasmine just out too far. A little bit bendy going through the water.
Yeah, it was a very confident dive, actually, by Cam. Unfortunately, the pair not able to put it together. Tweedy and McCready blew it a little bit in the last round, but again, with those lower tariffs, you do damage, but you can recover it with some big dives. McCready furthest away from the camera still. And back 2.5 somersault in the pike position. Divers do change as the rounds go on. My apologies, forward 3.5. Oh dear.
Tweedy really missed the takeoff, didn't get the dive moving, and it just died on the end. Also using the towel for a little bit of extra grip. Well, the synchronization is out there. Slightly better dive McCready, but Tweedy, as she hits the water, is very, very short of vertical. If she'd done a scoop underwater, that might have lifted her legs up a little, but we're under 60 points. That's a very bad miss for the Americans.
53.10. Brazil to finish off our 3rd round. In with 2.5 in the pike position. Yes, nice effort from Brazil. They didn't do a lot wrong the other day in the 3-meter synchro either.
No, it's good distance. The feet weren't too close to the board as they're spinning on the first somersault, so the jump back was just spot on. Good timing. Well, you can tell they really worked on their synchronization. They look the same from the side, coming out in the same style, just haven't got the tight bodies to disappear like the Russians and the Chinese.
60.48, 2nd pair of twins we've had diving today after the Farheims of Norway in the men's 3-meter springboard competition. And that's how things stand after 3 rounds. Chen and Jia still lead for China, and that's quite a healthy lead over Koltanova and Goncharova. Espinosa and Diaz Prieto haven't made their DD count just yet, but next 2 rounds could tell. So the Mexicans need to open up a little bit in these next 2 rounds. They've got the degree of difficulty to do it. Back 3.5 somersault in the tuck, followed by back 2.5 with the 1.5 twists in the pike.
Yeah, they're the only pair doing this dive, the back 3.5.
Oh dear, and neither of them made it, I'm afraid.
Well, the biggest mess was by Espinosa. She kicked out far too early and then collapses. There's the first summy, 2nd, 3rd. Espinosa kicks her feet at the wrong part of the area. She needs to kick more up towards the board. And you can see the feet come apart as she collides into the water.
What a shame for them, 54.45. Still think they've got the ability to cling on to a podium place. Espinosa, an elite athlete, of course, will know exactly what she's done wrong there, but the coach confirming it. Chen and Jia not exactly running away with this competition, but another good round here, and Russia will feel the pressure. Inward 3.5 then in the tuck position for 3.2.
Yeah, just a 7.9 lead. That's nothing when you're using very high tariff dives.
Yeah, superb stuff. Always that little wince as they go past the platform, but that was safe enough.
Yeah, they're using their ankles like little springboards there. Double at 9 meters, triple at 5 meters. Just slightly missing the grab of the hands going through the water. That's why we see a bit of splash being thrown up, but synchronization is very good.
And they move to 2.52.36 with 1 round of diving to go. China hot favourites now for this gold. 77.76. Russian crowd trying to lift Koltanova and Goncharova again. Very good through the first 2 rounds. Round 3 was okay, but Goncharova unfortunately just missed her dive a little bit, and that caused them problems on the overall mark. Need to hit this one.
Need 86 points to catch the Chinese.
Oh, that's unlucky. Very good synchronization. Koltanova managed to get there, but Goncharova short, unfortunately.
Goncharova very, very short. She looked at the side of the pool as she came out, reached for the wrong place. Triple good at this point, but not reaching for beneath her to pull the feet up. Out too early, and that's, well, the individual part of the score. 3 points will go to Goncharova, or 3 judges' scores, and they'll be low, and they are down on the 5.5.
Yes, good spot, Chris, for 2:33.70. And well, from the home fans' point of view, a bit of a shame going into the last round. It's going to be very difficult for Russia to catch China. Now then, Malaysia, Jasmine and Cam with their 4th round dive. Inward 2.5 somersaults in the pike position, 2.8, 2.6, and the problem for the rest of the field is they just don't have the DD to attack Mexico in 3rd. And both going over.
Yeah, Can just rolled it a little bit, but Jasmine was way over. Again, the divers should be able to spot the pool, because it's agitated, it's moving. You're not seeing the bottom of the pool, but they're missing, and the worst of the miss was from Jasmine, diving furthest away from us.
51.24 for 181.71. We'll see whether anybody is in touch with Mexico come the end of this round, but it does look like the top 3 are away and clear. A little bit of frustration from the coach with his feedback. Back 2.5 somersaults in the pike for Tweddy and McCready. They remain in their same positions, so Tweddy will be nearest the camera. It looks like she's doing most of the counting for this pair.
Up. 1, 2, ready, go.
And no hanging about. Oh, I did like the out, Chris, but unfortunately a little too early.
Synchronization, I was watching it as it's going around, and I thought that was perfect spot synchronization. Taking off together, pulling forward into the pike, 1, then 2 somersaults, but clearly out far too early. And McCready drops her feet there on the left-hand side, goes loose. Slightly short still from Sarah. Yeah, saying the synchro's good, but short.
53.94. When you're in that tuck or that pike position, you are rotating quickly. The tighter you can get, the faster you spin. And when Chris refers to out, it's when they come out of that tuck or that pike into the straight position, and that kills the rotation. You've got to time that perfectly, and then you'll go into the water straight. It is incredibly technical, very complex. Cruise and cruise then. Brazil, forward 2.5 with a single twist. And that's the first dive we've seen the miss in this final.
Yeah, the divers can opt to do the twist first or after the start of the somersault. They've done the latter. Definitely out of timing And a poor entry again. So out on the 1 3/4, there's the single twist, coming around, finishing very, very low. That's underneath the 5 meter, and you're dropping fast to the water. Couldn't get the vertical entry.
So a real shame for the Brazilians who dived well up to that point. Chen and Jia lead comfortably now from Koltanova and Goncharova. Espinosa and Diaz Prieto not really mounting the challenge for silver or gold that they were looking to do. Final round of diving then for the Universiade Diving Competition 2013 here in Kazan. And the crowd a little subdued because Koltanova and Goncharova, who appeared in the competition in the last minute, unfortunately haven't quite delivered the challenge to China they wanted. Now, Espinosa and Diaz Prieto to finish. Can they finish strongly? Yes, they can. That's one of their better dives today, but still enough for the judges to work with.
Back 2.5, 1.5 twists, moving very fast at the start, pulling forward into the pike, but not holding the entry. We see them roll over on the end, and that's a shame because the start of the dive was spot on. Just slightly off of angle going through the water, and the judges will mark that down because of that.
283.77. That becomes the important score now, that final tally. And from Mexico's point of view, they are way off where they want to be with that particular dive list because it is a high degree of difficulty. Gold medalists in waiting, looking to add to China's gold medal haul here at Kazan. Diving looks like it will emerge as one of the better sports for China here in Russia. Chen and Jia then with their final round. Oh, and that was their weakest dive so far of the competition. That was all out of sync down, and they both missed the entries.
Yeah, and the feet flying around a little bit on the twist. You see the feet not quite together there for Chen. That's unusual. Normally the feet are very, very tight. As she says, it's unusual to see a splash being thrown up like that. They had, though, some 18-point lead, so I don't think it's going to affect them, but they won't go 3:49 like they did 2 years ago, or different pair. It was Shen Rilin, the Olympic champion then.
3:25.32, that was really the only hope that Russia had, that China would get a suppressed score, but still all smiles. It's been very relaxed in all the team camps here at this Universiade. It's been a superb competition, but in great spirit. Now then, Koltanova, I'm glad to say, not been clutching that troublesome arm all the way through this competition. She and Goncharova, 3.2 to finish, back 2.5 with that 1.5 twists. They're going to have to absolutely deliver. Oh, they've given it a really good effort. That is superb from the Russians. The crowd right behind their pair immediately to try and convince the judges that that was gold medal worthy.
Well, mathematically, they could pass the Chinese, but I don't think it is quite there. Just a little bit of splash being thrown up. Good-looking dive at the start, strong and powerful. They're going for it, but I just think that with an 18-point lead, it was just too much to catch the Chinese.
Yes, 73.92 for 3:07.62. A few jeers and boos from the crowd, but the judges have got it absolutely right today. And Goncharova just couldn't quite find her form in an individual capacity to help Koltanova to another gold. So Russia in that silver medal position ahead of Mexico on 283.77, and that is how the medals will stay. Jasmine and Cam then to finish off for Malaysia.
Just a half twisting back 2.5.
A little bit awkward, unfortunately, on the far side from Jasmine.
Yeah, she came around. There was no tension in the stomach or her back, and she couldn't hold the entry. Starts good. Half twist into the pike. Cam hits the water just ahead of Jasmine. Jasmine can't hold that entry. Very loose, no tension at all. Synchronization, reasonably good. Poor entry. Oh, and she scored right down on to 3.5 and 4.5 individually.
2.24. Or thereabouts for Malaysia. 2 pairs to come. Twilly and McCready for the USA with the penultimate dive of this 2013 Universiade.
Their most difficult dive, 3.2 to finish.
1, 2, ready, go.
Yeah, it's a good effort.
Yeah, it's not enough though to catch the Mexicans. Would need 85 points on this dive, which is just too big a gap for them. Into the 1.5 twist, pulling forward. Just the legs crossed over or slightly apart. Form losing there halfway through the dive. Good start, just needs to work on the positions, both of them, coming into their next competitions.
Twisting in different directions, which is perfectly okay in a synchro competition. 266.16 then in the end, just off that pace set by the Mexicans. And it falls to Natalie and Nicoli Cruz of Brazil to close out the Universiade diving tournament. Just off the podium at the moment, but surely a medal out of reach for these two on 3.0. They're forward 3.5 somersault in the pike position. Well, nearly a fitting end, just a little bit out on the distance from the platform, and that meant the synchronization wasn't there, but two really solid individual dives.
Yeah, they have been quite consistent. Form could be worked on a little bit, but to be in 4th place against this group of divers is very, very good for Brazil. Strong jump, there's the acrobatic part, but distances are separate from each other, and the judges will pick up on that on the synchro scores.
Yeah, it's no kissing, come on. 56.70 for 260.19. Smiles all round for Brazil. Very good entry into international competition for the Cruz twins. They've done well. But the medals go to Mexico with the bronze. Coltonova and Goncharova pick up silver. Chen and Jia, 6th gold medal for China here. So not quite the 12 they were after, but another gold at this Universiade nonetheless. For Coltonova, well, let's hope that that arm is not a problem, and she will be fit for the Worlds in a week's time. A silver medal for her to add to her individual gold on the 10-metre platform. But it's China that close out this diving tournament with a gold. So the Chinese team wave goodbye to the Aquatic Palace, and we wave goodbye to the divers. It's been a really good competition, Chris.
Yeah, it has, and a great lead into the World Championships in just a week and a half's time.